Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, guys? What's up? Welcome to Deck Talk Podcast. Today we have a special guest on here, and we're trying out some new camera angles. Hopefully we don't break this one this time, Norman.
Oh, you got that right.
So, like always, we got good buddy Norman Lee. And,
What's up, my fishing friends?
That's right. And our special guest today is Chad Watts from FireFly Marine. What's up, brother?
What's going on,
Hey,
Chad?
guys. How are y'all doing today?
Man, well, it's a little cold up here, so.
Man, forget that little crap. It's freezing. Walked outside earlier. It's freezing, man. Wish I was back in Florida now.
Yeah, he's been saying that ever since he's gotten back, that I wished I was back in Florida. That 90-degree weather wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. When I was down in that 90-degree weather, though, I was wishing I was back up here, but I gotta think about what I wish for anymore. I get back up here and I'm like, man, I wish I was down there in some heat again.
That's right. So, guys, if y'all do not know who Chad Watts is, we've been fortunate here. About 2 years ago, we ran into Chad at the East Tennessee Fishing Expo. And so, and we've been able to keep in contact with him. And Norman was actually the first person that I knew. Well, Norman and Gary Nash, and were the first two people that I knew that that actually had the Fireflies on it. And I really did not know at that time and about how well that I would really like the Fireflies.
Fell in love with them pretty quick,
and
right?
oh man, I did. And so we Dennis is on. What's up, Dennis? So but yeah, I tell you, I thoroughly enjoy having them on the boats, and you really don't think, well, I didn't, I didn't think of much about like how different how the navigational lights really affect your fishing until I was on a boat that had Fireflies on it. So
if you ever fish underneath one, it'll change how you fish in the dark. You'll be shocked. It just makes that much difference.
Oh, for real. Yeah. It does. And and one thing that I really liked, well, with being down in Alabama and stuff like that, with the bugs in the summertime and stuff like that, and, it's nice not having to fight. You're fighting fish, but it's also nice not having to fight them bugs too. So
I tell you what, one of the worst. It was funny. One of the worst experiences I had with that was actually a mayfly hatch.
Oh,
it was so bad. My graphs were covered. I'd have to rake the mayflies off just to be able to see my graphs. I'd have to rake the seats out. But then I look up there at our light, and there's 2 mayfly bugs on the whole thing, and the rest of the boat's just covered.
Yeah.
We got Dennis Crenshaw, which Dennis bought a set of the Fireflies, and you sent them to Lake Placid, Florida. And he just told me, he said to tell you how much that he loves them, because 90% of his fishing trips are at night. So,
oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think Norman, you were telling me about Dennis and his guide service with
Yep.
that he's got up there, and he seemed to be real excited. I think we sent him a silver
Silver,
diamond
right? Yeah.
series, I
Yep.
think, and if I remember correctly, and he sent me just ton loads of pictures and stuff, and it was just super excited to see all that. I was glad
Yeah.
that it was helping him out. That's awesome.
Yeah, the first, I think that was the first night or the first day he got on the first trip he had with the Firefly on his boat. He called me back and he said, "Man," he says, "this is awesome." He said, so he fell in love with him pretty quick
Oh,
after
that's
having
awesome.
him on his boat for one of his trips or for his first trip.
Oh yeah, that's in which for as on the manufacturer side, you work every day and you're building and you're talking to distributors and you're talking to all these dealers, and it's so nice and refreshing to hear somebody that has gotten one of these lights and using it. It's fun for a manufacturer to hear how people out in the field are using them, how they like them. So that's always a pleasure for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I've got the green. I call it the snot green looking color.
He wanted to
but
be seen.
but I mean, I've had them on my boat. But it's done what I told you that I was wanting it to do. I wanted people to ask, "Where in the world did you get them?" So I mean, because that's all you need is. I mean, how I look at it is, if that's an opportunity to where I can send them your way, then that's another
Oh
plus
yeah.
for you. So
Hey, we appreciate that very much. I still think it's funny you put those green ones on your boat.
it don't even match. It doesn't match my boat at all, does
No,
it?
I
no,
know.
not quite, not quite. I'm all about everything matching. I have to have my everything on my boat has to match, including what I'm wearing.
Yep.
So I'm that way where I have to be matching, whether it's my boat, my clothes, my Firefly lights have to be the color of my boat. And here Colin comes along with what's the color of your boat? Black
It's like
and
my
gray.
boat is like a charcoal gray with red and black stripes.
So when he's going down the lake, the
With
first thing
lime
that you
green
pick up
coat.
is his
Well,
lime green.
but that's the first thing you're gonna see.
Yeah, right.
So
Well,
Norman tells
it's
people though.
well, I'm like you are, Norman. I have to have. I'm OCD that way. Everything has to match. It just I don't know why, but everything has to match. My rods, my down to my tennis shoes. If I'm gonna put some colored colored braid on, it's got to match my color scheme. I don't know why that is, but that just is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, for everybody that's watching, make sure also that you go to our Deck Talk YouTube channel, and we want you to make sure to like and subscribe and comment as well. And make sure you comment during this episode too. We want to hear your comment. We want to hear your feedback. If you have any comments for Chad, about the Firefly lights or myself and Colin, make sure you leave your comments as well. But like and comment and subscribe to our Deck Talk YouTube channel as well. Eventually, we're going to start feeding everything to the Deck Talk YouTube channel only, because we want everybody to start kind of going to that for the podcast. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the Deck Talk YouTube channel. So, all right, enough of that. Let's get on with the show.
All right. Let's talk, Chad, about like how did you get started into the navigational lights?
Oh, golly. That process actually took place about almost 30 years ago now. It might be, no, let's see. I guess it was probably about 33 years ago. We actually had built a couple of friends had built a stern light out of a camouflage crappie telescoping cane pole. It was a fishing cane pole. And we took, back in the day, your bases didn't have the two prongs. They just had a brass hump on it.
Right.
And so we took some flashing and braced some brass down on there so it'd make contact and run wire through it. And then we took an old oil reel bottle, the old ones that were kind of oval, they wasn't round, and we drilled a hole in the lid of that thing and slid it down there and put some silicone on it and put a car bulb for the inside of your car and siliconed it and put the cover back on from the oil reel bottle and screwed it back on. And the game wardens down at Watauga Lake absolutely loved it, said it was great, and it worked. It worked so nice. And so, years pass, you're raising families, you're doing the things you need to do as a husband and a father, and it always stayed on my mind. I would think of it several times a year, and as the years progressed, materials came available that weren't available back in the day. And so one day I actually was aerating a yard, and I started thinking about it. And this time God didn't let me let go of it, and I couldn't quit thinking about it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try to see if I can do that again, but with modern technology and materials that are available today. And so we ended up building these out of carbon fiber. We built them to 9'4" now, but we had several engineers over several years to help develop this refracting plastic that we've done, and it is extremely highly technical to blend it, to get it just right, to get the amount of refraction inside the plastic. And you got to remember the wall thickness on the plastic, you've got to penetrate it, heat it with light, and permeate it and let it permeate around the boat at the exact amount you want. So it's a constant. We were trying to move it around, do different blends, subtract stuff that was really over my head, and until we got exactly what we were looking for, and then there's that OCD we were talking about, Norman, earlier, about everything matching. I had the bright idea.
Oh goodness, guys, we
just lost Chad.
We lost Chad.
Are we there?
There we go. There we
go. Here? Okay. They sorry about that. I was afraid that was going to happen. My son called me.
You're good. You're good.
But so to get back to what we were talking about, being OCD about everything matching, I decided, well, it's always been just a metal pole with a light on there, and wouldn't it be cool if everybody could match their boat? Because I started thinking about, hey, I'd like to be able to do it to match my boat. And then I thought, well, if everybody surely is like me, they would want to match it. So that's how we ended up with, that's how we, yeah. And so that's how we came up with 12 different colors across 3 different series. And it keeps evolving as we go along. And there's we started out with our flake series. We had 7 colors in there, and then I found the 3K Weave Diamond series, and so we put 4 colors in that diamond series, and now we have our camo series. So it just keeps evolving as we go along, and everybody's been so supportive about it. And I think, up until this, nobody had the understanding of fishing underneath the light changes everything from
yeah.
what you've always experienced in the past. And they're so different. 81 years ago, it was amazing. Um, uh, well, actually, I need to say about 79 years ago. No, it was 81 years ago. No, it was 79 years ago. They had um, in 1876. Now get this. This is amazing. 1876. The actual navigational light was first patented by an old Belgian fisherman. And so we see it on planes and boats and everything else, the red and green white light. Well, in the United States, they patented the first one 79 years ago, and nothing has ever changed since. It's always been a little aluminum pole with a little light on there until these. And so now we're the only company in the entire world that holds a full patent on a bow and stern light. And so they're different, and you'll be able to tell it when you get on the water with them.
Oh, and that's what Norman and I, when we were talking or out fishing and stuff like that, and that's one thing I told him when we first got out. And I got on the boat with him, and I'm like, "What's different?" Because I knew something was different. I did not know, but I could tell that something was different. And and he was like, "I just got the new FireFly lights out, and I got this. I'm taking them out." And so I'm like, "Heck yeah!" And ever since then, we I know I have, and I know Norman has too. So we both thoroughly enjoy fishing underneath them. We don't do quite as much nighttime fishing. Most of the time when we have them, though, is when we're out blasting off, or we're getting off at Safe Light and stuff like that. But I mean, even at that time, you can still tell a difference in it and stuff. And I've used them with going crappie with a buddy of mine, and we do nighttime crappie fishing, and so and he was amazed at the difference and stuff about it.
Now, one of the things I want to get back a little bit, Chad, to the low glare. Of course, they eliminate 99% of your insects or your nighttime bugs, but what helps eliminate the bugs is the no glare factor that FireFly lights have. Because anytime you eliminate glare, you're going to eliminate your bugs. The bugs are going to be drawn to the glare of the light at nighttime. But most of the glare reduction has to do a lot with that new technology that you have incorporated with, I guess, what you call the refracting plastic that you use on the lights. So that basically has most of the is what actually your no glare comes from, is that new technology and the refracting plastic. Am I correct?
Yeah, it was out of everything that we did with this stern light, and that was the first thing we started with. Everything else came along fairly easy. It wasn't. It took a couple of years to really get this where we wanted it, except for that light, and that took almost 3 years to get the final development of what we want. Well, actually, it took almost 3.5 years. That was the most complicated part, but it was the part that meant that was the thing that we were going after the whole time anyway. And without that doing what we designed it to do, and we're able to get it to where this point, we really wouldn't have done anything different as far as, it'd have been a different material in the pole, and it'd have went up a little higher than everybody else, but that's about it. We'd have just made another stern light. There's enough of those out there. We had to stay with that, and it was so frustrating sometimes. And it just there for a while. I was wondering if we were ever going to get it, and we finally did. And it just makes all the difference in the world with that refracting plastic. So much so that we have guys that that'll call me in the middle of the night. My wife started making me leave the phone in the living room because she usually put it on the nightstand stand. And we would get phone calls at 12:30, 1:30 in the morning, and I'd answer the phone from a dead sleep, and they're like, "Dude, this thing's crazy," you know. And we're just like, really, man, it's 1:30 in the morning.
Well, Chad, we got we got a question for you from John Pate.
Okay.
John Pate is a good buddy of Norman's out of Florida,
South Florida,
and so he's got his question is, or he says, "Hey guys, have a question. Do they make poles that are adjustable for different heights, or to be able to lay down to go underneath bridges? Just asking, and can we use them on airboats?"
John, yes and no. They can go on airboats. We've had them to 89 miles an hour, fully extended. So, your wind force load factor is not going to be a big deal. You can put them on the airboat as long as that airboat does not exceed 40 foot. Typically, what you see in a stern light, they have them raised.
He had another phone call. Guys, he has another phone call, so he's going to be right back. So as soon as he can, he'll be right back on with us. But while we have a second, and he's getting back on, if you're on Facebook, smash that like button to help us get out, and because Facebook likes it when you comment and when you smash the likes, and also the Norman, you want to tell them about our the YouTube channel and stuff?
Yep. Make sure you go to Deck Talk Podcast. Search Deck Talk Podcast on YouTube, and like and subscribe to our Deck Talk Podcast YouTube channel. Eventually, we're going to actually swing everything pertaining to the podcast to our Deck Talk YouTube channel. So we want to get that channel up and going. So make sure you go to that channel and subscribe to it. And like I say, eventually we're going to swing everything relating to the podcast will be swung towards the Deck Talk Podcast YouTube channel as well.
Yep. There he is. We got him back.
I guess next time I don't need to do this on my phone.
You're good. You get that. Hey. You actually gave us a little commercial break to where we can tell everybody to start hitting that like button and all that. So
okay.
It done good. We're good.
But to answer your question, John, yes, you can run it on an airboat as long as it's 40 foot. You run it on any vessel as long as it's 40 foot or less. And as far as different heights, to this point, we don't. It comes down to 5'4" and extends to 9'4". But we are coming up what's called a FireFly Junior, which will retract to 2 foot 11 inches and extend to 5 foot. So for those anglers that fish mostly on the weekends and during the day, or will have may fish a tournament. They like to tournament fish for their local wildcats or anything like that. You can use this FireFly Junior and go under those low hanging bridges because it actually retracts lower than your power poles or the crowling on your motor. So I hope that helps. But yeah, right now it's 5'4" to 9'4". There's nothing in between.
Yeah, and I'll add one thing to that too, Chad, and that's good stuff right there. But as far as your airboats are concerned, like John was asking about, um, per your Coast Guard and your Game and Fish, of course, on any vessel, whether it's a bass boat or an airboat, your anchor light or your stern light has to be the tallest point of the boat. It has to be seen 360 degrees. So as far as an airboat's concerned, the anchor light on an airboat actually they normally mount them on the very top of the cage.
Yeah, and on the fan, but these go 9'4", which
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, exactly. So the Fireflies will actually extend, and I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, but I believe the Firefly lights are the only light on the market that actually will adjust from its actual height that it comes in, so you can actually extend it. Which on an airboat, as long as your top of your cage isn't higher than 9'4", which I'm not sure the exact height. I'm sure there are different heights depending on what airboat you have, but you could probably get that 9'4" if you mount it on the back of of your gunwale or your airboat. Typically, it probably will go up a little bit above the cage anyway, where the cage sits.
Yeah, and if he's going under low-hanging bridges, it will certainly retract lower than what his blade on his fan thing is.
Yeah.
So he can extend it up, and it will extend over if he puts it on the gunnel, it'll extend at least all the airboats I've seen.
Yeah, and that's really all you need, is it to extend higher than the cage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Dennis Crenshaw says it's really going to change my summer fishing at nights because of the blinding, and the mosquitoes are off the charts. He says now I can take above anything, which my business is 70% better.
Yeah, 90% of Florida night fishing, you almost have to wear a darn screen over you because the bugs are so bad in Florida at nighttime down there when it's so hot and muggy.
Oh yeah, and them jokers is kind of like the ones in Mississippi. They about the size of wasp, and they'll tote you off if you're not careful.
Yeah, they're like pterodactyls, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, how can people be able to get some Fireflies? Where do they need to go to be able to get them?
Well, I mean, they can actually go on our website, fireflymarine.com, and they'll be able to see everything. If they follow us on Facebook or anything, then they'll be able to see all the new content and stuff before it comes out, because we got a lot of new products that we've designed and engineered that'll be coming to market within this 2023 year time frame. And some of those things are going through our distribution channels, and some things will be direct that we're not going to take through the distribution channel, and that's on purpose. But they can go, they can just go to fireflymarine.com and see everything. There's some, we've got a lot of dealers out there. They can check with their local dealers. And I encourage them to call their local dealer, because if their local dealer gets enough phone calls about this Firefly product lineup, if they don't have it, then they'll give us a call or go through their distributor to get the product. So that's we're always here for them. We usually ship a lot of times the same day. If not, it will be the first thing the next morning. So usually people get their stuff real quick.
Right. So, because that's one thing that, what Dennis got his, and I know that he messaged me, and he told me, he said, or it might have been you, Norman, that told me that he ordered them, and then he messaged me. It wasn't maybe like 2 days later, he got a package. He said, I got my nav lights in. So
yeah, he sent me a picture of the box when it got there out in his yard as the UPS driver was, or whatever, the way he should.
It was UPS.
How he got him was actually leaving. He sent me a picture of the box and carrying it in the house. He was excited to get it, excited to open it, and I know he was excited to get him on his boat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Mr. Dennis is when we were talking about it with him, I bet he sent me 100 pictures.
I guarantee.
And I was actually at I think I was at a Big Rock. I think I was either at Pittman Creek or Big Rock show or distributor show, and I was back at the hotel room. And for an hour, I would, 15 minutes lap, and here come another 10 pictures, and 10 minutes to come by, and here come another 5 or 6 pictures. And I actually enjoyed it. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Well, he has a lot of them. He really does well with his coffee trips, and I like to tell everybody, which is true. He's the best in the business in Florida as far as when it comes to crappie guidance. So
yeah,
but,
hey, and I'm looking,
he has
looking forward
to share with everybody.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it because he told me the next time I'm down there, come and he'll take me out, just me and him go fishing. And I said, "You're on."
Yeah, right. Yeah, you'll have a good time. And the only crappie guide I've ever known that actually feeds you when you're fishing for crappie out there.
Isn't that something? Yeah, he was showing me pictures of that. I thought that was pretty cool.
You get off, you depart off of his boat after a day of crappie fishing, and you leave hungry, and it's your own fault.
Yeah, that is true. So let's talk a little bit about them smallmouths that I see right behind you.
Oh, those are well, I got my largemouth up higher up, but those smallmouth, one was 6'4" and one was 6'1". I caught the 6'4" one on the north and South Fork Holston River meet up around Churchill, Tennessee, where they come together. I caught him, and we caught a bunch of 5.5 pounders that day. I mean, a bunch of them. And the other one, I actually caught the 6'1". I actually caught it when I was doing a little walleye fishing with a longbill rebel, a broken back longbill rebel on Watauga Lake up in Tennessee, and actually caught that smallmouth 6'1", and I was just slow. I mean, you go to sleep while you're reeling that longbill rebel, and it's just so slow. You're imitating those LY that are in that lake, and you just want to go to sleep after about the second or third cast. You're like, I'll never make this all night long, and so I caught that, and then I've got a 9.7 and a 9.1 largemouth, and then I've got a 10.4 largemouth up above our logo there. That and those were fun. So I like to walk in the office in the morning and I see those, and it stirs up memories, and I can start thinking about that instead of what I got to do for today.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Now, can you show us that camo? Because that's when I got my nav lights, I wasn't able to. Well, it wasn't out quite yet. It was still coming out or coming soon.
Yeah, we got these. We got our carbon fiber poles in the end of last week, and we had a show up in Gadsden, and I had 2 different dealers there. Jerome Farley with Farley Outdoors, and then Wayne over there that owns Alabama Trolling Motor. They were both there, so I went up there to support them, and but we've not released it yet. I guess we have really. We just hadn't sent it to the distributors yet, but we've got these in. But I don't know if how well y'all can see that, but it's our own camo. It's our own camo pattern. We have it both in the bow light and the stern light, and it's called Grassy Sage. And I think it's going to be a big hit with a lot of the guys that have 10 units. Some of the guys have wraps on their fiberglass boats, but I think it's going to be a real good pattern for a lot of duck hunters as well. It's got that grass sage, and actually these came out a little more tan than I think the ones we'll have in the future. it'll have our same pattern, but it'll have just some hints of green in it as well.
Right.
And I think that's going to be real good. We're working on that. It looks like I've already got some models that looks like that's going to be good. It's kind of in between this all brown and all green. It's kind of got a hint of both, and it really looks good.
That's cool, man. And you were saying that the camo actually is available now for people to get on the website and order.
Yeah, it's actually there. They're $159.95 for our camo. Same thing as the rest of them, and it's $59.95 for the bow light. That's all three, the Flake series, the Diamond series, or the Camo series. They're all the same. So,
Right.
Yeah.
but they can go on there right now. I got about 150 of them sitting on the table building right now. So I just soon ship them out this afternoon.
Awesome, yeah, that's right, man.
We'd love to see that.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about the biggest bass tournament in the world coming up here in about a week and a half. You're going to have representation there at the Classic this year, right, Chad? You're going to have somebody at the Expo that has FireFly lights.
We were, but they weren't able to get actually inside. They were going to have them set up outside. So they didn't do that. It's a shame. We would have liked to have been there, but starting in 2024. We will be at the Bassmasters Classic. We'll be at Red Crest. We'll be at all those big tournaments like that. FireFly itself will be there, and we'll have a big show, big display. I think we're going to be like a 10 by 30 booth section. So we're gonna have a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of cool things we're coming out with that's going to be great.
Awesome.
Yeah. So and we know because we've talked to Jerome here. What was it, about a week ago?
Yeah, about a
we
week.
talked to Jerome because we're going to get him on the podcast too. And so, but yeah, it was good to actually meet him at the East Tennessee Fishing Expo. So,
yeah, Jerome is he's super nice guy. Him and his wife both are just good people, and he called at the first of the year. Or actually, it may have been a little bit before the first. It was probably back in September of 2022, and he wanted to carry our products, and actually Jerome Farley with Farley Outdoors is actually one of our number one dealers right now. He travels all over the United States doing shows, and then he's got his website, and I think he's got several. He's got it on eBay, he's got it on Amazon. He's got all kinds of stuff. But in literally, if you go through his website, I believe, I don't think there's a thing. I don't even think Home Depot, Ace Hardware, I don't even think any of them's got anything on him, because he's got everything under the sun on that website. I mean, it would take you hours to go through everything. So they've done a great job. I'm tickled to death to have him as a dealer, and he was going to be the one that was going to go to the Bassmasters with it. But at the last minute, they decided, because he was on the waiting list for so long, they decided that they were going to put him outside somewhere or something. And I'm like, look, when we do this, we need to do this right. So we decided to wait till next year for it. And I think it's going to be out in Texas somewhere. I think it's where Bassmasters is going to be next year.
No, I don't know if I heard yet.
I heard, but
I think it was Texas or Oklahoma or somewhere up in there. I think it's where it's going to be. So
right. I know it's in the Midwest. So but I know one thing. We are excited and cannot wait, Chad, till we can get you in the Chattanooga area.
Yeah.
And get you on the boat and put you on some smallmouth. So
Yeah.
You know I'm all about that, and I think Norman and I have talked about this for a while, that we wanted to get together and wet a line and maybe jump on and do a little more podcast, but I'm all about that water time.
that's right.
Man, really looking forward to that too, Chad. When you do come down and hit the lake with us, which is actually going to be pretty soon, probably within the next month and a half, the smallmouth in about a month and a half is going to be off the charts. The smallmouth fishing, we're going to be catching some good numbers out there. Get you to come down, and we'll have you in studio on the podcast again, and do a lot more chit chatting. We can actually talk about some of the fish we caught during the day when we get you in here.
Oh, that's gonna be a blast.
It's gonna be a fun. We'll have a fun day.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to see. Those the diamond behind you? Is that the like the what Norman has that are right behind you?
Yeah, they're right here. I've got the black, silver, blue, and the red in the diamond series. Yeah, that's it right there. That's the red diamond. It's more of the red diamond is kind of more of a burgundy type. It's a deeper red. Then the flake series red is just a bright, vibrant red. Yeah. I'm glad that we have those two contrasting red type colors, a darker red and a lighter red, a fire red kind of thing. But yeah, so and what's funny, he's holding that up there, and that's actually a 3K weave. That's the color of the carbon fiber. Those aren't painted. Our blue, our black, our silver, and our red in the 3K Weave Diamond Series. All we do after we put all that on our mandrels and roll all that and tape all that and do some sanding, all we do is clear coat it, because that's the color of the carbon fiber. Now, our Flake Series is a standard carbon fiber that everybody's accustomed to seeing. You know, when you say carbon fiber, they think about that weave that's, and it's black and it looks pretty. And that's the way our 3K weave is. But our Flake Series, that's what it would look like if we didn't paint those. And then we paint those. There's 3 coats of paint, and the last 2 coats have metal flake in there. And then we clear coat on top of that. So, but they're all 100% carbon fiber. Just that 3K weave is awful pretty carbon fiber. Sure.
Right. And can you? I know we've talked about the lights and stuff, but can you kind of go into a little bit of your bow lights and kind of what makes them kind of stand out than what any other lights?
Yeah, we're actually proud of this little bow light. And it was, there's a story behind that. I was actually going to fish a Fisher's Men for Central Division, Alabama. And my fishing partner, I had to pick him up and his boat up, and it was probably 2 a.m. in the morning. And we had a good hour and a half drive just to get to the lake. And then you want to be on the water for about 45 minutes to an hour before they blast off, so you can get everything ready and make sure, you're in the water and stuff. And so we got to talking about our stern light, and he said, you ought to make a bow light that kind of, if you're going to be in the navigational light system, you got to make a bow light. And we were driving down through there, and I got to tell him about it. Yeah, I'm going to do this. And he said, I'm going to tell you what I would do. And I said, what would you do? He said, I would make a rear-facing light on that thing that actually works. And that's how that all came about. This light came about because I don't know if everybody can see that, but if you look at that, this is the exact shape of a FireFly or lightning bug, whichever you call it. It looks like in flight. They fly with their head level and their tail dragging. If I put wings on this, what we did is that we found a picture of a lightning bug actually online. and we took it and put it in our CAD system and traced it out. So this is exactly like one would actually fly. Well, and so I've had a lot of people ask me why we put the yellow tail on here. Well, one, that's a FireFly. That's a lightning bug. That's what they do. But it goes a little deeper than that. I didn't want to put a white light here to confuse somebody out on the water. If they see this light on, if somebody was doing something versus the rear stern light, I didn't want them to get confused as to whether they were coming or going. So we left the yellow light. We did something a little bit different. Most of the manufacturers years ago that tried to do a courtesy light, they didn't really work well. They were still blinding light, because what we did is we moved our refracting plastic forward, both in this lens cover here and on our courtesy light. They all have refracting plastic. So if I'm fishing at nighttime and I turn this on and it fires a tail and I unhook a fish, or I retie, or I get a backlash out, I can turn it off and just go right back to fishing and never miss a beat, like there never was a light turned on, because it's non-blinding. Yeah. But in our switch, we so many companies used to have to put 3 prongs in, and that was to run the main hot line and your alternating, your AC line back to your battery system. And they put a 3rd prong in there to work this courtesy light. Well, we did it all within the switch, so that you can, this switch illuminates yellow just around it real lightly. It's not like a blue puck flashing light or a 3K weave light, a light on your Ultrex. That blue light or that puck light will blind me to death. I got black tape on mine to keep it from blinding me, but so we did all that, the engineering parts to be able to make everything work through our switch system, which is all stainless steel, all the rivets on everything that connects, even our screws that are down here, all that stainless steel, so we're not going to have an issue with rusting. But we when we did that, so now you actually have a light that if I'm 2 to 3 foot away from it, and I'm 5, 10, 6 foot, you can turn it on and retie a lure from that distance and turn it off and go right back to feed. You don't have to hug yourself right up underneath your light to change it. So it's pretty bright light.
Yeah, you don't know how many times, a lot of times when I get to the lake, I still have 2 or 3 rods that I still have to tie baits onto that I didn't do prior to leaving the house. You don't know how many times I use that courtesy light in the morning before you can actually see where you need light to retie lures or tie baits on rods that I don't already have them tied on. And just like you say, Chad, it doesn't give you the glare, so you can still see what you're doing. A lot of those lights give so much glare off that you really can't see what you're doing because the glare is too bad in your eyes. And then, like you say, once you turn it off, you can't see for about 3-4 minutes because of the glare factor that you were just trying to look at. So.
Yeah, it was like a stern light. You turn one of the old stern lights on, or you stare at one of those, or you turn the headlamp on. Well, your eyes are toast for 10 minutes. At least mine are. I can't do anything to my guy. It takes 10 minutes to readjust it, but now I don't have to. And that we had to do that, guys. We didn't have a choice as far as being a manufacturer inside of navigational lighting systems for boats. We didn't have a choice to make all of these changes and spend this much time and this much energy and capital in this project. We didn't have a choice, because if we hadn't done all that, we'd have just made another one, and what would be the purpose? There's enough of them out there, so what's the purpose in even wasting your time for? So we took a lot of time to make sure that refracting plastic was going to do exactly for the anglers that it needed to do, so it makes their fishing trip so much more enjoyable. Because when fishing underneath the light, and we talked about it earlier, when I got out on the water, and I've told so many people this, I don't have to wait or to hit my favorite spot. If I'm fishing a nighttime tournament, they release you, probably an hour before it gets dark. You go hit your favorite spot. And I do a lot of 12-hour tournaments and on weekends, and so you might get 45 minutes of the end of the tournament, which is daylight, before you have to be in, and you get an hour before it gets dark when it first starts. That's it. Your most place you got the most confidence in. Well, now I can go in the dead middle of the night if I want to go back there 5 times and hit the place I got the most confidence in. And I don't care how gnarly. I don't care if it's got wood everywhere, mangled everywhere, grass, weeds, little pets. It doesn't matter. I can go and pick it apart in the dead middle of the night, and I can see everything. So that makes a difference when you start fishing.
Yeah. And I think you said it best, Chad, on your website. You say this quite a few times, where with your anchor light on, it's almost like you're fishing under a full moon.
That's exactly what it's like, and it's almost like you. Colin said, at first he came on your boat, didn't really know what was different, but something was different. And that's just it. You almost kind of look around wondering when you step out on your porch and it's a full moon outside and you're looking around, you can see everything. It's not direct light, it's indirect because it's the moon. Yeah. And you're like, where does this come from? And then you realize, it's a full moon out, and it's not somebody that's got their lights on around, their floodlights around the house. It's a full moon. Well, this is the same thing. I can see individual leaves on the banks and on the bushes and on the trees, but it's not a piercing bright light. It's just a soft moon glow is all it is, and it's perfect.
Yeah. And that's one thing, like, I know when we were at the East Tennessee Fishing Expo, we were talking to you about it. And, like, I've been in my boat, and Norman's been, and we've kind of come to where we're crossing. And where, how, like, the boats normally, they will have just, like, those LED lights that's going around the front of the boat or whatever. And, trying to run at night down the river and have them bright LED lights, man, it is hard to get your eyes adjusted, and especially if you're running 50, 60 mile an hour. That's the last thing you need is your eyes to go bad on you. But I've been to where Norman's coming towards me, and that light is just a crisp light, and you can still see around it. It does not affect your driving with the boat coming towards you or with you fishing. So that was another thing that I really liked about it, was because even it's not just the person that's on the boat, it's also not affecting the people that's on the boat coming towards you also.
Yeah, and you made a great point there, because here's what happens. The United States Coast Guard puts out a parameter. It has to be 3.67 inches above the stern light, has to be above the bow light, and it has to be seen to 360 degrees. It has to be so many degrees from head on to the side. You've got like 120 something degrees that you can see. Well, what a lot of these people that are putting navigational light stuff out on the market aren't even Coast Guard approved, hadn't even been gone through that process. They feel like that if it can be seen 360 degrees and it's a white light and it's 4 or 5 foot tall, hey, I'm good. When really you're not. And so those bow lights that are built into the rub rails, the LEDs that you're talking about, actually a lot of those aren't Coast Guard approved, and the angle's too wide, and it can be more hazardous for the people that are driving down the lake and you're facing them. You start getting to where you can't see, then that becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's one thing that I noticed though was like again that when Norman was coming to me, I never had that blindness to it. So and that was another thing that I was like, I really didn't. You don't realize what you're doing because you're behind the steering wheel. You don't realize how that affects somebody else coming uh, down the lake or the
you're
river
right.
wherever you're fishing, and especially fishing on the river and stuff like that. And in the wintertime, you know, the Tennessee River, the TVA lakes, and all that. You know, they drop them down. And so you're running channels. So sometimes you might only have a 30-yard channel. And so, and you don't want to get out of the channel because, well, you might have a ledge there that comes up to where you might be running in a foot and a half of water. And so, I mean, so having that eye blindness from another boat could end up costing you a lower unit on yours. And so, but again, that's one of the reasons why I like it. And so we're going to get out here soon, and I'll have my boat out, and Norman will have his out, and I'm going to let him see what I'm talking about on it.
Yeah, that refracting plastic is it's making that much difference in the industry.
It is.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate you guys telling people about it. That word of mouth when fishermen get out there and they see it and realize what's going on has been a huge thing for us.
Yeah, that's what it's about. That's the one. I mean, we really enjoy talking to you. Norman and I, when we left the East Tennessee Fishing Expo, when we got done shooting that video with you, we're like, man, he is very knowledgeable because there's not too many people. They might own the company or they might help with the company or something like that. But the knowledge and stuff that you have on your lights, you can tell that one, you care about what you're doing, and I mean, and it shows with the quality work that you have. And so, to me, that's what stands you out.
Well, and I appreciate that, Colin. One of the things, I'm a bass fisherman. Crappie fisherman. You pretty much anything that'll bite, that'll give me a little tug on there, I like it. But I'm like I'm no different than anybody else. I love the outdoors. I love to fish. So deciding to do this and making this product, I wanted to do everything I could to make this better for the rest of the anglers out there that I call friend, that I may have never met but run into on the water, and we wave at each other, or if we see each other on the dock, we'll start talking, and you've never seen this person before. See, to me, we all have something in common. So in order to build that kind of product for them, I had to study not only the materials that are here today that can make that better, but being a fisherman just like them. And for you, there's not another human being on face of this earth that despises a stern light as much as I do. I absolutely despise them. So I had to make one to fix all the stuff that drove me nuts. And so I had to know as much about it as I could. But at least the guys, everybody out there, the men and women that fish, whether, we got a lot of people running ours now on kayaks. I mean, that's becoming a big thing because most of the kayak lights are real short, and they stand it up, but they stand all the rods back up. So depending on what angle you're at, you might see their lights, you might not. So now our lights getting up there running that stuff. So they're being able to see, and plus they can see on the water a whole lot more. But for all those people that fish, I was right there with you. I experienced the same thing, and so I'm just glad that that everybody has supported FireFly by buying one and coming to us and talking to us and giving us feedback. That way we can continue to build products that make a difference for them out on the water doing the things that they love to do. So this is more about, this is not a lot of companies, this is not about the bottom dollar. Yes, every company out there has to make money and be profitable, but this is about the things that we do put out. We want it to make a difference so that you enjoy what you're doing far greater than you have in the past. So
yeah, and that's one thing that I have noticed, that it has made a difference. And so, and again, we appreciate it, that the time that y'all spent on figuring the technology out on the light globe and stuff like that, reflecting plastic and stuff. So we definitely appreciate it. And I tell you, and um, if you are looking for navigational lights, I've got the website up on the screen right now. So don't hesitate. And I mean, because it is well worth the investment. Because again, like what you're saying, it's rated to 84 mile an hour. And I know some boats can go that fast, but a lot of boats you're just seeing going 70, 75. But I mean, so don't worry about it. I mean, and again, it's easy stowing. I mean, even with, I've got a 19.5 foot tracker, I can easily stow mine up pretty easy. And Norman's, you got the 21 foot Triton. And so, I mean, we have not seen any kind of issues of stowing. So you looked at even that aspect of it, to where it's easy for people to be able to have it in the boat, not just having it on the boat. So you can easily store it too. So
yeah, well, if you got a rod locker box, just going in there, and some people, will find places to put it, but I always put mine in either one of my rod locker boxes. But I mean, it's just 5 foot long, and most rods, are 6 foot to 8 foot, long. So it's not a problem to put it away. So yeah,
well, Dennis says that he's going to be contacting you. He needs 2 more. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Dennis. I appreciate you so very much, more than you even know.
That's awesome, man.
Let's see this. And he also said, this is so awesome that the other fishermen cannot stay on the water with me. But keep in mind that my green light keeps the bugs below the boat. So he's got one of them, like the green blobs deals.
Yeah.
Lights.
The LEDs that attract the bait fish. Fishing.
Below his boat, which even with his pontoon. So, but yeah, he said he's going to be contacting you. He needs 2 more sets. So.
Yeah, well, and if nobody hears anything else I've said in this whole conversation, that I've been so blessed for y'all to invite me on your podcast, and I've enjoyed it so much. But I want everybody to understand how appreciative and how thankful and how blessed I feel that you've gone out and purchased a FireFly. I get so many people calling me saying, this is just, it's great. It's amazing. I quit fishing at night because I couldn't see. Now I can, and I just enjoy it so much. To every one of those people that's done that, you will never completely understand just how thankful and appreciative I am for each and every one of you. So if nothing else I've said you've listened to, I hope that you hear that, so you know how appreciative and thankful I am.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's true. And we know, and we are this is from both of Norman and I. We are very blessed to be able to call you a friend. So
I love it.
We thank you for coming on here, and we've made it an hour, and so, but not to cut it short or anything like that, but I have to get some sleep because I got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and head to Northwest Kentucky. So, but again, Chad, we thoroughly appreciate you coming on, especially as late notice is what we gave you.
Oh, it's
and,
all right.
And so, but we will definitely. Dennis says that you will help him out 100%. So,
thank you.
Or you have helped him out 100%. So,
thank you.
But again, guys, that we if we haven't talked enough about the FireFly or anything like that, and if you have any kind of questions that you're wanting to know, you can easily find FireFly on Facebook. You can message Chad on Facebook and stuff like that. He will get back in touch with you. Or you can contact Norman and myself, and we will be more than glad to answer your questions. And if we can't answer them, we know the man that can, so we will definitely get in touch with him because our goal is we want to see every boat that we have of buddies and stuff like that to have the FireFlies on their boat. One, because we like them, and two, it's just a good safety. I mean, because
it really is
safe out on the water. If you can see, you're being safe. So, again, but Chad, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Make sure you go to his website too and check him out on his website as well. You can see his full array of colors, full array of product, and fireflymarine.com. And man, Chad, I tell you what though, I am looking so forward to getting you up here and going fishing with you.
Oh, I can't wait. I just can't wait.
I just can't wait for that. Anytime we're on the water, we do this podcast, but in all honesty, we'd rather be out on the water most days fishing. But
yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Anytime we get out on the water and make an excuse to get out there, so
that's right.
We can't wait to share the boat with you and have you in the studio the next time when you come up and fish with us for the day. We'll have you in the studio for another episode. We have a lot more good stuff to talk about.
That'd be fun. I'll be able to tell everybody how I caught more, my fish was bigger. I'll be able to tell everybody that. But listen,
we'll have some fish stories.
Yeah, that's right. But to you, Norman and Colin, thank y'all for having me on your podcast. I just appreciate the invite. I've just extremely thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to get up there and wet a line and get back in the studio. We'll just have a blast.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be a blast. So. But yeah, guys, we thank you, Chad, again for coming on, and we want to thank y'all for watching and for the comments and Dennis. Chad knows that he's got 2 more that's going to be sending your way, and so just to contact him, and he will get them on. John Pate said, great show. Nice chatting with Chad. Watch till next week. Or I guess he means can't wait till next week's podcast. So we want to be able to let you know that if you have not gone to our the Deck Talk podcast YouTube channel, please go to it. It is Deck Talk Podcast on YouTube. Make sure you go hit that subscribe button and that bell to notify that when we're going live. Because again, just like what Norman said earlier, we are going to be going strictly to that podcast. It's just going strictly to our the YouTube channel, so we can start growing that channel more as we're getting bigger. But we did have over 500 viewers. This is the most viewed episode, Chad, that we've had.
That is so awesome.
So
next time we get together and we get in the studios and we have some on water fishing, I mean, there's just going to be tens of thousands of people watching this. You know they coming.
They're coming. It's coming, and that's one thing. Like maybe like well, I mean, we've had this hadn't been an episode that had the most questions, but we've had a lot of people coming and viewing on it. So
That's awesome.
That is good. So and hopefully. Hopefully by then, what me and you talked about the other day, we can have that going when you come up here and fish.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait, guys. I'm excited.
All right, brother. Well, again, we appreciate it. And guys, hope y'all live the passion and God bless.
Thank you, guys. Tight lines.
See y'all.
See you, Chad. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.